Hello and welcome to Granada Reports.
Hello, on the programme this evening.
With pressure growing once again on our hospitals, do we need the return of some restrictions to avoid a winter crisis?
A tornado strikes a housing estate in Cheshire. We see the damage in its wake.
Family and friends were saying they've never heard her talk, and she was, nearly 4 years old.
A special report on the anxiety disorder that can leave children like Effie struggling in silence.
Over the next 20 years, plastic production is expected to double. So how we recycle it is going to become more vital than ever. On tonight's programme, I find out how important it is that we do it right.
It's taken 4 years to release the song that made Grace such a hit on The X Factor.
Well, first, and just how difficult a winter are we facing? One public health official in the northwest warns there's a danger of sleepwalking into a crisis if we're not more careful about the spread of COVID.
The government says it won't bring in its Plan B, but health trusts say it should. They want vaccine passports, working from home again, and mandatory face coverings in some settings.
That's a view shared by patients currently in the Royal Preston Hospital with COVID who plead with people to take the virus seriously. Our correspondent Elaine Wilcox has our top story tonight.
Susan Livesey had shielded and was double vaccinated and still became seriously ill with COVID.
I had to phone my children, sent them all a message at 4:30 in the morning telling them that we had to say goodbye because I was going to be put into an induced coma and ventilated, and my odds wouldn't have been good.
She's now recovering after 5 weeks in hospital. Half the patients on this ward have COVID, and the vast majority who become critically ill haven't had the vaccine.
Worryingly, there has been an increase to well over 50 in the last few days.
Doctors here in Preston fear complacency, and they can't treat those on their waiting lists while the COVID beds are full.
COVID is very much around, and in fact, if anything, the numbers of COVID patients coming into hospital is going up. So we need to continue to focus on getting double jabbed, get the booster jab if you have crossed that 6-month point, and absolutely crucial that we continue to exercise all possible precautions, masking, social distancing.
Today, NHS leaders came together to urge the government to reimpose restrictions to protect the NHS. But the Health Secretary insisted the current plan was working.
We're looking closely at the data, and we won't be implementing our Plan B of contingency measures at this point. But we'll be staying vigilant, preparing for all eventualities.
Those leading the region's vaccine programme say more support for schools is vital, as infections there are fueling the rise in cases. In Bolton, they're jabbing 12 to 15-year-olds in 2 schools a day, but want to do more.
The issue is that when we go into a school, so many of the children are off isolating or unwell or have got COVID. They can't be vaccinated on that day. Equally, if they've had COVID in the last 28 days, they can't be vaccinated. So, that one-time offer into a school is just not going to be enough. Try not to be in crowded spaces if you can. I know that's not the law. I know it's not being mandated. But, the more we can do to limit the spread of this and ease those pressures.
In Macclesfield, part of Cheshire East, which has the region's highest COVID rates, people supported wearing masks if it prevents another lockdown.
I'm still wearing a mask when I go in shops and busy places. It's not a problem.
But we've been doing it for so long, so I just don't see the point in it. I don't know.
Well, I'm frightened of another lockdown because I've spent so much time in the house this last few years that it's just driving me mad.
Lynn Howard kept wearing a mask and took precautions, but still caught COVID. And he's convinced the vaccines saved his life.
My breathing was that bad, and I've never had a problem with breathing before, so to be in that position without it, I just don't know, it would have been in a very bad way.
Both are indebted to medics here and say it's vital we try to protect them in case we need them to. Elaine Wilcox, ITV News, Preston.
So just how serious is this and what should we be doing about it? A short time ago we were joined by the Director of Public Health for Lancashire. He is Dr Sakthi Karunithy.
Infection levels are rising and the number of people in our hospitals with COVID are also increasing, in addition to all the other winter pressures in our hospitals. So we are reminding people, whilst vaccination is the most important thing to actually get, if you're due one, it's also important to wake up to this fact of increasing COVID cases and remind ourselves to wear face coverings so we can detect the virus and avoid spreading it further as we head into what appears to be a very difficult winter ahead.
But a lot of people have a much more relaxed attitude to face coverings, don't they now?
I think so. It's been a long journey for us in this pandemic, but we need to wake up to the fact that the rises in the cases are real, and if you're not careful, we will sleepwalk into a crisis.
What about closer to home, though? Just how serious would you say the situation is?
The situation is one of increasing numbers of COVID cases. In some parts of our region, the rates are nearly twice as high as the national averages. It used to be centering around children and young people, but we're also seeing the increases in COVID cases in adults and also elderly. There is still a long way to go before everybody that's due for a booster vaccine, before they get that.
Is the time right to bring back these tighter restrictions?
I don't think even in the Plan B there are any tighter restrictions as such, given that the vaccines are actually very effective in helping to avoid a lot of hospital admissions and people getting severely ill. If we can do things that we have always done very well in looking after ourselves and protecting others, I think we can avoid bringing back tighter restrictions, and that's what we should be thinking about right now.
So why are so many medical people saying that they would favour Plan B, do you think?
I think Plan B contains things that are on balance, not very restrictive in terms of personal freedom and the economy. Things like wearing a face covering, making sure we have the vaccines. These are things that aren't entirely restrictive, and on balance, it might just about help us avoid a crisis in the NHS and indeed the virus levels coming back like it used to be.
Doctor, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
Well, we're moving on next to the latest from the Arena inquiry. A convicted terrorist who visited the suicide bomber in jail says he will cooperate if he's treated fairly.
Yeah, Abdul Rauf Abdallah told the inquiry he was a man of his word. Here's our correspondent, Amy Welch.
He's the convicted terrorist who Salman Abedi visited in jail in the months before he bombed the Manchester Arena. And today, Abdul Rauf Abdallah told the inquiry he will cooperate if treated fairly.
For me, I need the disclosure of everything they've got from A to Z, my lawyers to be advised at everything, and then would go ahead, of course. I'm a man of my word, you know, where I come from, a man doesn't lie, you understand? Okay. So if I say something to you, it means it's true.
It's alleged he groomed Salman Abedi and spoke to him on an illicit mobile phone, but he insists he was not involved in the attack.
The way I've been treated by inquiry for the last 2-3 years, as if I'm behind it and I'm the one who's assisted it.
Abdallah was jailed in 2016 for terror offences. He was injured fighting in the civil war in Libya and appeared in the witness box in his wheelchair. His lawyers want full disclosure of phone records and prison visits and have advised him not to answer any questions. But Abdallah told the inquiry he wants the truth, and so do the Libyan community.
I'm actually here for the families, and my sympathy goes for them as well, because the fact is, as a community in Manchester, we're trying to understand what really happened.
The families who'd come to court to hear his evidence walked out feeling frustrated. But they'll face Abdallah once more when he returns to court, and next time they'll want answers. Amy Welch, ITV News.
Well, next, then, some amazing pictures from a housing estate in Cheshire, which residents say was hit by a tornado today.
Yeah, we don't hear of this sort of thing very often. A tornado in Cheshire. It knocked down fences and it uprooted trees, and luckily There are no reports of anyone being hurt. Our reporter Claire Hannah is in Widnes for us.
It was just after 12:15 this lunchtime. What's been described as a mini tornado ripped through this estate here in Widnes, and everywhere you look you can see the damage. At least 20 homes have had roof tiles blown off, walls have come down, fences have come down, numerous cars have been damaged, and for people who live here, they've told us this really wasn't something they were expecting on a Wednesday afternoon.
People's garden furniture was like all over the estate. It was just surreal. You just couldn't believe it.
The only good thing about this, if there is one good thing, the tree next door that I hated has been blown down into my garden and demolished the fencing, and the tree's gone.
The clean-up is continuing here as it has been all afternoon, and we've been told the community really came together with people out on the streets with wheelbarrows, with brooms, helping clear up all the mess. The overwhelming feeling here, though, people say they feel incredibly lucky that no one was injured.
Thanks, Claire. Well done to the people of Widnes who got together to help each other out there. Now to the growing number of children and adults living with an anxiety disorder known as selective mutism.
Yeah, it's often described as a fear or phobia of speaking in certain situations. It usually starts in childhood and, if left untreated, can persist into adulthood.
Anna Yosef went to meet a family from Rochdale who hope that sharing their story as part of Selective Mutism Awareness Month will help others who are struggling in silence.
Effie's turn. I think Effie's actually going to win this time.
Too scared to talk. Until recently, the only people 5-year-old Effie spoke to were her mum, dad, brothers and sister. She was diagnosed during lockdown with selective mutism, a severe anxiety disorder that prevents people speaking in certain situations. When did you start to get concerned?
She was really chatty at home, but then family and friends were saying they've never heard her talk, and she was, nearly 4 years old, and they'd never heard her laugh or just say hi to them. People were trying to get her to speak, and I could see Effie getting really upset and uncomfortable, like a really physical response. You could see her tense up, her hand would go in her mouth and her eyes would go down, and she wouldn't even look at anyone.
Her own grandmother had never heard her speak?
Yeah, my own mother never heard her speak or had conversations because she wouldn't even speak to us in front of other people.
Selective mutism is a complex condition that usually strikes between the ages of 3 and 6. It affects about 1 in 140 children and is more common in girls and multilingual families.
There was times where she'd need the toilet, she couldn't ask, and if that tells you something, your child would rather have an accident than ask to go to the toilet. That is the fear she had of speaking to someone she wasn't comfortable with.
Tanya feels lucky she was listened to when she first had concerns. The family had help from a health visitor and speech therapist, and Effie's school has adapted to her needs.
It's a phobia, it's a fear of speaking, not control, it's not they don't want to. And that's how, as well, we differentiate between shy children. Shy children will warm up. We all know that child that will warm up after 15, 20 minutes. These children do not warm up. The main thing is to reduce the anxiety response.
And how do you do that?
So it's making staff aware that she doesn't have to talk. It can be as simple as straight away telling Effie, you don't have to talk, we don't expect you to talk. That can really relax them straight away. Not reacting if they do speak, because I think sometimes you get excited. So it's not making a big deal if they do start speaking, and just really letting the child take the lead.
It's not that the person doesn't want to speak. They do want to speak, but they're actually physically incapable of speaking when the fear response is triggered. And I think that's what makes it really difficult for people to understand. If it's not properly tackled, it can actually progress into adulthood as well. And if it does persist, it's associated with increased risks for a whole range of negative psychological and psychosocial outcomes. So really important that it is detected early.
With the support of her family and health professionals, Effie's making good progress.
So she speaks to my mum now. Again, it's very quiet and a few words, but it's so nice to see. And she actually said she's speaking at school, little bits, which was amazing.
Tanya hopes sharing Effie's story will lead to greater understanding of the condition and help those struggling in silence. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Yeah, and our thanks to her for sharing that story with us, that there is more information as well on selective mutism, including sources of help and support available on our website. You'll find that at itv.com/Granada.
Now, the countdown is on to what many view as the last chance for governments to come together and try to prevent the worst effects of global warming.
Yeah, the world's politicians and scientists are meeting for the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP26, next month. But closer to home, we can all help by being more careful about how and what we recycle.
ITV weather presenter Alex Beresford has been looking at some simple changes we can all make.
Now, how many of us have bought a bottle of water on our lunch break or bought milk in the supermarket? Believe it or not, plastic production is expected to more than double over the next 20 years. So how we recycle it is going to become more vital than ever. So I've come here to find out how important it is that we're doing it right.
And this is where it starts. Thousands upon thousands of used plastics making their way along the conveyor belt. Once sorted, they're crushed, ready for the next part of their life. In 2020, nearly 2.5 million tonnes of plastic packaging waste was collected across the UK, with just under half of that recycled. Last year, across Greater Manchester, Suez picked up 11,500 tonnes of plastic bottles from households.
And of course, our rubbish isn't just made up of plastic. There are mountains of other household items like glass, cardboard and paper. And what I didn't know is how we recycle those items really matters.
If your recycling is contaminated, which is when you might have food in there or flimsy plastic in with the rest of your plastic that can be recycled, then when it's baled up, that bale might contain too many of the wrong things and the whole bale might be rejected.
Tell me the best way to recycle cardboard, because I understand that if it gets wet, it can be a bit more tricky.
Cardboard should be flattened or folded up with all of the tape or any plastic labels taken off of it, and you should keep it as dry as possible. It's much harder to process it for recycling if it's damp when you put it in the box or if it gets left out in the rain.
Now here's something I've only just found out about, and that's some of our major supermarkets are now accepting soft plastic recycling. So that's anything from crisp packets to bread bags and also the lids from ready meals. So here's my contribution.
Paula Chin spent more than 20 years working in the packaging industry. She now campaigns for resources to be used more efficiently.
Plastic is everywhere. It's been found in the highest mountains and the deepest parts of the ocean. It's in the air we breathe. It's been found in water that we drink. It is one of the most visible symptoms of the environmental crisis that we're facing right now. So whether it be plastics, whether it be paper, aluminium, in the broader picture, we have to think about our overall resource consumption and make sure we're tackling our throwaway culture.
So I've learnt quite a lot today. I can recycle my dog's food pouches, my son's crisp packets, and I need to double check the weather forecast before I put out my cardboard waste. All small things that can add up to a big change.
Well, next, the singer from Blackburn, who's had a whirlwind few weeks with her song climbing the charts.
4 years ago, Grace Davies from Lango appeared on The X Factor singing Roots, a song she'd written herself.
So why has it taken so long to release it? Well, contract delays and COVID got in the way, but now there's no stopping her.
She's been speaking to Anna O'Connor about finding musical fame.
Grace Davies wrote and sang Roots on her first X Factor appearance back in 2017.
That is a hit song. I loved it, genuinely, and I really like you, Grace.
Aged 20, her talent took her to the finals and a contract with Simon Cowell's record label. But the company's closure and the COVID lockdowns left Grace without a label, so she paid for Roots to be released independently.
I guess I made it here somehow. I made it this far and I am proud.
Within 2 days, it went into the top 40.
And I, for one, am glad.
No, I'm flapping. I'm definitely flapping because I don't have that kind of reactive budget that a major label would have in that if things are going well, pop some more money on it, let's go. And I'm just sort of going, things are going well, I don't know what to do. This year has been spectacular in that I've been able to just write songs and release them whenever I want, and if I like a song, I don't have to run it by anyone else, I can just pop it out.
So her success has been anything but overnight.
I used to come back from school every night and sit on my bedroom floor with a keyboard, just like pressing with 3 keys, not really knowing what I was doing, but I was just determined to write music.
She now has interest from other record labels and the backing of industry giants she met on X Factor.
Ed Sheeran stopping me and going, "You're an amazing songwriter." And I'm like, "No, you are." Stop it, you.
'Cause my roots don't keep me warm.
Anne O'Connor, ITV News at Lango in Lancashire.
What a great sound.
Good luck to her. John's got the weather.
That sunshine really made your eyeshadow pop, you know? And you put the wipe in the bin, not the toilet.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Go ahead, Queen.
Yes, hello there. Some dramatic weather around today, including a tornado at Widnes. But it all started off really nice this morning here at Lower Roddlesworth Reservoir, which is just above Darwin in Lancashire. And also a lovely sky here first thing this morning in the Isle of Man. But then it all went pear-shaped. It's a wet scene here up at Pigeon Tower above Rivington in Lancashire. So for the last few days, we've had our air coming from the southwest. It's all about to change. Tomorrow, our air is going to be coming from the north and it's going to feel very much colder, believe me. So through this evening, still 1 or 2 heavy showers around. They will tend to die away during the course of the evening. And then in the early hours of tomorrow morning, 1 or 2 showers passing through on a cold front, and that will introduce that colder air from the north. Lows of 3 or 4 Celsius inland, maybe even a touch of frost up in the Pennines towards the end of the night. But it will be fairly breezy at the Irish Sea coasts. There is sun time then for tomorrow, up in the morning at 7:49, setting again 1 minute past 6. So plenty of sunshine around tomorrow. Don't let that fool you. You'll need your big coat on. It's going to be cold in that northwesterly wind, and there will be some quite heavy showers moving in, especially tomorrow afternoon through West Lancashire, the Wirral and the Isle of Man. Best of the dry weather up in the Pennines, but the best temperature 11 Celsius. It will feel quite chilly, and 1 or 2 scattered showers again through tomorrow evening. And then into Friday, it's sunshine and showers basically. Again, a bit on the chilly side. Top temperatures only around 11 or 12 Celsius. Enjoy your evening.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Those eyebrows are unreal.
It's going to be cold out there. On tomorrow's programme, will the increase in energy bills push more people into fuel poverty?
And the exhibition at Media City where you can step inside your favourite Van Gogh painting and get a selfie.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.